Hello, you know who I am, and welcome to my side channel. I'm going to do something for the entirety of this week in honour of World Diabetes Day on Friday. I'm actually going to do a Diabetes Awareness Week on this very channel, where I'll be covering several different aspects of life with diabetes, what it's like to have diabetes, and just generally explaining the ins and outs, really. So I hope you'll stick along for the ride, and hope you don't mind me talking medical to you for a little bit. So I'm going to start simple and pretty much just explain what type 1 diabetes is. I'm mainly going to focus on type 1 because that's the one that I have. The reason I'm covering type 1 as opposed to type 2 is that type 2 is the one that's always focused upon in the media. It's almost always the one that's covered, and it's almost always the one that is assumed when people are talking about diabetes, and I'm actually gonna cover that in a later video. You'll probably hear me saying that quite a bit of this week, being like, I covered that in a previous video, or I'll cover it in a later video. For the first few days it will just be, I'll cover it later, but I won't cover it now, so you know, stick around and watch the things. And back on topic, what is type 1 diabetes? That is a thing that you are going to learn today. You're welcome. So type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition with no definitive cause. There's no lifestyle cause, there's no genetics that cause it to happen. Scientists don't know what causes a person to develop type 1 diabetes, but it is sort of one of the things that's being researched to, as well as eventually researching into a cure. But what we do know is we do know what goes on inside a type 1 diabetic when things start going wrong. Essentially what's happening is that your cells that produce insulin have been destroyed by your own immune system, because these things called T regulator cells. Essentially what they are, those are the things that keep your immune system in check. It's very common that you'll find that someone is diagnosed with type 1 diabetes after they've had some kind of illness. It'll be sort of almost sitting dormant, and then say you've had a stomach bug or you've had the flu, and your immune system will be working from that, but then once your immune system has fixed it, the T regulator cells haven't done anything to say to your immune system, hey, look, stop, you're done now. They'll just keep on going, doing whatever. And then this causes this kind of chain reaction, and then you end up getting diabetes. I don't want to scare anyone here, but I do kind of want to raise awareness about the symptoms of diabetes, and I'm just going to quickly refer to my notes because I can't rattle them off the top of my head. So we have here increased thirst, and naturally because you have increased thirst, you have an increased need to go to the loo more, particularly in the evening, so that's something to watch out for. Tired, you're tired more of the time. Extreme weight loss, this is seriously something to take note of. You will lose a dangerous amount of weight. I was diagnosed 3 years ago when I was 15, and I weighed about 5.5 stone. No 15-year-old should really be weighing about 5.5 stone. So yeah, that's dangerous is what that is. Slow healing, so like bruises and cuts, they take longer to kind of heal over, and also blurred vision. So if you're experiencing a combination of those symptoms, you might want to go check with your GP just to kind of play it safe. You don't want to risk this boiling over, because then you could make yourself very ill and it could actually be fatal. So because your insulin has stopped working and has stopped processing all these sugars and all that, you can actually have some longer term damage. There can be sort of loss of limbs, loss of feeling in your limbs. Diabetics are always told to look after their feet. We're told to really look after our feet. Our feet are sacred because we walk on them. I don't know. But no, we are told to look after ourselves, make sure that we can feel extremities. You know, there's been times where it feels weird in your extremities, in your hands, in your feet. I mostly feel it, if I'm feeling it at all, it'll be in my legs. My legs feel really tired, and you get that kind of feeling. But it's a case of when you go to clinic, say every year or so, they'll be like, right, okay, we're just going to poke your feet. Can you feel that? Can you feel that? Can you feel that? Which, if you're really ticklish in the feet, is a right pain to deal with. What a nightmare. But you also get some of the things, like you could have eyesight problems, because you could have what's known as diabetic retinopathy, where like little nerves in your eyes and all that could become damaged, causing a loss of sight. In fact, I'm actually going to put my glasses back on. And I'm actually having my own diabetic eye screening tomorrow to check for any signs of retinopathy. I've been clear for every year that I've gone to be tested. It's been like, there's been no signs of diabetic retinopathy, you're absolutely fine, just make sure you take care of yourself and all that. But this is sort of something that you naturally need to keep an eye on so you don't go blind. It's as simple as that, and is also as terrifying as that. So that is my very quick explanation of type 1 diabetes. Are there any questions? Leave me in those comments below. If you know me personally, which is pretty much all of you, just ask me in person, or on Facebook, or whatever. Being like, hey, what was this thing, or what causes this thing, and I will explain it to the best of my knowledge, because I want people to be aware of not just the condition that I have, but the condition that millions of people have. And it's not just kids, it's adults. A few years ago, or it might have been last year or whatever, the Home Secretary, I think it was, Theresa May, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And the cynical among us was like, oh, well, that's naturally going to raise the profile, isn't it? Now that a politician has it. Not the fact that millions of young people and older people have been suffering from it for years. So, hey, every cloud has a silver lining and all that. And I'm rambling a bit, as I tend to do. So I'm going to sign off now. I will see you tomorrow for another diabetes video. Bye.